Okay.
Yep,
Greetings. All right, excellent. Greetings, everybody. This is From the Ashes Publishing. We are here with Kari Darkstar and D.H. Thorne. Going to be talking with Kari a little bit about some of her rights and some of her philosophy about her personal practice. Looking forward to this evening. I'm very honored to have Kari join the house. She has a lot to offer. Very in depth within her workings, and has a lot of knowledge to share, and very freely gives that, which is why she's here. So, greetings, Kari.
Hey, Kari.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank
So
you for
Kari
having me.
just kind of appeared on the YouTube scene like about a month ago, right? A little bit more than that, right?
Yeah, a little over a month, yes.
A little over a month ago. And you and I started talking with you, and I was impressed right away with your sincerity and your natural, just your natural way of working with the spirits. I'm really happy to have you on board. This is really awesome.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be able to have an opportunity to share.
To find somebody who is so genuinely authentic within this field, within working with the spirits on such an intimate level, I find it's kind of few and far between. There's a lot of practitioners, and I'm not saying that they're not sincere. It's just that there's a certain essence or quality about somebody who really has true connection with these entities, and I definitely saw that within you, and that definitely drew me towards you, as far as wanting to get to know you a little bit more, and kind of have you join the house. Can you tell me a little bit more about your philosophy, kind of where you came from, what you studied, and what led you thus far?
Well, my journey with the ancients began when I was very young. Beginning at about age 3 and 4, I was having visions and visitation, whom I now know as Hecate. And she would come to me on very full moon nights and speak with me, blow in my face. And I would not fully understand her whole message, but I felt very connected. And at the ages of 5 and 6, these spirits called the Shan, which are the spirits of the ancients of the air, started to come and visit and I would become very sensitive to the spirits. And I saw the world a different way growing up, and even in my young adult years, even though I was with the family constraints, being raised in a household that I had to really, keep my practices private, my thoughts private. And I struggled with that most of my life until recently, when Lucifer, I felt like, was saying, it's time that all the things that we've planted in you and all the indwelling and the time that we've spent, it's time for you to take what you have learned and share. And so that's what I kind of endeavored to do in 2019. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great time to come out.
It really is. In fact, that's one of the things that drew me to you, especially, I think the first video I watched from you had to do with Lucifer and a Maimon, and I was like, okay, this is someone who's speaking to definitely the same entity that I'm talking to when I'm working with them. And I said, this person's legitimate. I got to keep following this person. And just watching you grow and build online has been really cool. And to be able to have you with us here, I think is going to be really powerful. Recently you did that a couple of rights, more or less live, and you're still learning how to get your electronics going and get all that, but
Yes.
It still shows through. Like even if you're having technical difficulties, it still shows through the sincerity. It's amazing.
Right.
I enjoyed.
Technical problems are one thing, or learning things. I mean, I'm definitely not well versed in that myself, which I'm grateful for you there to be there, Thorne. You had a better handle on that, and so I'm
your tech geek.
It definitely helps the situation. But, that's really, that's one aspect or one side of doing this. What really truly matters is the sincerity, is the genuine connection that you have with spirits, and bringing that through.
Yes, and I had challenges with the Spirit of Fear ritual. I didn't realize when I set the camera up, it was like sideways. Everything was, oh
That's okay.
my.
It fixed.
Everybody watch it upside down. Gary's doing another video.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's amazing. I'm watching that video and I'm going, oh, it's sideways. Well, we'll watch it. And then when I saw you entering your trances and doing, I'm like, that's exactly, the level of depth. Like when I get into a trance and I'm into it, and you're just intoning so beautifully, and I'm like, okay, that's not something you see every day people doing anymore. Well, at all. Like myself and a few others do that, and it's not many. It's I think one of the things that's interesting is, like, when it comes to doing this stuff, being able to be natural even on camera is a gift, to be able to even do it that way a little bit. And it shows sincerity again, that you can do it on camera sincerely without looking like you're just acting, and to know that you're actually performing the ritual for real while you're filming it is a very rare gift. And there's not many that really seem to have it. And that's this is going to be good. This is going to be really good to have you on board.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Now you've got several starting rituals that you're offering through the house. One is the Killer of Fear ritual, and I think that is going to be incredibly beneficial to so many people, which is I was so excited to have you, excuse me, you present that and offer that to the public. I thought that was amazing. A lot of people out here, they think the left-hand path is all about Bane. It's all about, darkness and pain and whatnot. And it's such a misconception in my particular view of things.
Yes.
And it's really, to me, it's about freedom. It's about ascent. It's about, I was just talking to a student earlier, and I was trying to explain to someone who was just new to the craft, or the path, I should say, and that it's about freeing people. Like, I enjoy my position because I'm able to actually help free people, break down their dogmatic barriers that they have within their minds. Because that's the biggest hurdles that any magician has is within themselves. And just freeing them and having them be able to stand up, get off their knees, take power, and wield and manipulate their world. But a lot of this stuff that these, like I said, these dogmatic barriers that are within people really keep them back. And one of them is definitely fear of different things. So to have you offer this ritual, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, and the concept of the Spirit of Fear actually comes from a whole bunch of different type of texts. It's not just, if you look at the different literature that's been written about what a spirit of fear might be. I believe myself that these spirits of fear are an earth-based spirit amalgamation of the human response feeding a thought form and giving it, for lack of a better, giving it power over you.
Right.
And to approach Belial for the working of understanding what these spirits are that are feeding and attacking and making people weak and in action, because people won't act if they're afraid of something. They will be impotent in their works because there's unknowns that they're not familiar or comfortable with.
Right.
And there are even very deep-seated fears that were put in there when we were very young, whether it was from our generational raisings instituted by other adults in our life, or just the way mankind has been for decades, generations. These types of fears that get really deep seated often hold you captive. And my focus on these fear rituals is to help people to get inside of these fears that they have, because a lot of people don't even realize. They might know one or two things they're really afraid of, but there's a deeper anchoring fear in there that's still holding everything and still sprouting up this toxic thing that you can't purge yourself from. So that's part of the focus. And then the other focus is to bind these things and rip them out of your life so that you can face them and then be able to send them away and have upkeep that will keep you walking away from this situation empowered, rather than worried or I hope it doesn't come back. Well, don't talk like that. Be I am. I
Right.
am no longer afraid, you know.
Right.
I'm going to give you guys a rare view of my tattoo, which is, fear is the mind killer. And that one of the reasons I have it there is when I'm doing something and I'm feeling fear and I'm feeling like I'm getting ready to do something like jump off a cliff, basically. And I've already made my mind up to do it. And I look at this and I understand, that you can't necessarily stop the sensation, but you can conquer the limitation. And having a ritual that addresses even some of that helps people to work with that, I think that's so powerful. I think that's it changed my life in general to be able to address that issue and to be able to offer a ritual that, using Belial. I mean, he is definitely a spirit that's no nonsense about making you assert yourself over your situations. Belial doesn't let you
Yes.
play nice. So to have Belial support that, I mean, that's brilliant to do that.
Yeah, I have to agree. Belial and I have a deal going on right now. Actually, he's definitely assisted me here in the past and continues to assist me. And I will be offering actually a rite myself shortly, working with him as part of, like I said, part of a deal. That's something that I had agreed with him to do. So I'm excited with that. He's definitely making his rounds right now. He seems very popular. I see. I'm flipping through Facebook and it's just everywhere. So it seems like this deal he struck with me, I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one, But absolutely incredibly powerful spirit to work with. I've gotten amazingly powerful results working with Belial. So to have him incorporated within this particular working a rite to strike fear from someone is, again, yes, brilliant and well played or incorporated, I should say.
Yeah, I think Kane, you just recently turned me on to Carlos Castaneda a little bit, and I was listening to one of his books on tape, basically, and one of the things that came up in one of them was, being told that the sorcerer, the magician, whatever, they work towards abstract things. Abstract things are usually the right things, and fear, these kinds of things, these are abstractions, and it's such a genuine working when you're doing that just to add, it's not like you're just saying to people, oh, here's how we get you rich or something. This is something that will change somebody's life,
Right.
mentally, and it's
That's the hope. That is the
yeah.
hope, is to help people rise up from those captivating fears and actually project and live an intentional life. That's what I would like to see for people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's yeah. So you have other rights with us, Kane. What's the next one? What's the next right she's got up for bid on The Price is Right with the from the ashes?
There's that, and then she also has the. I know there's one with Lilith, but there's also the Parasitic Purge and Protection Ritual, which I think, again, very beneficial. Something that a lot of people can absolutely utilize to overcome quite a bit of things. It's like the parasites that are attracted to you. I know that from personal struggles that I have had, that I have definitely attracted such parasites myself at times in my life, that they feed off of fear, they feed off depression. They just kind of suck you dry when you're already, it's like kicking you when you're down. And so like to be able to get rid of these entities, and then on top of that, possibly even harness them for future use. That's such a beneficial working to offer. What goes into that?
Well, for me, when I was helping someone with this, we divinated with a crystal scry, and then we also divinated with a root scry. The root scry was what made some things very obvious about what kind of parasitic entities. And with the divination, visions are given, like little snippets of things that maybe images. Like I gave an description to a person, and he
Right.
told me, he goes, you know what, that means something to me. keep talking, and we would go through the images. And in the meantime, the person is going through in their mind, and these images all tied together somehow. And once we can tie that down to a certain feeling or a we can identify the parasitic entity based on what the divination result is coming back. And when I was able to isolate that and speak the words, and be able to restrain that thing and take it away, he has been able to, go forward and be able to go, you know what, I feel so much lighter. Parasitic entities attack all people. It's not just people who work with the spirits all the time. And those of us who do it a lot, it can creep up on you. You may not even realize, you're having good weeks and everything, but then you're starting to get tired and you're getting neglectful with your spiritual practices. Well, they're kind of just collecting up on the back burner somewhere. And, sometimes you don't recognize until you're going, I'm just having, a rough time. And you're going, wait a minute, when's the last time I properly cleansed? When's the last time I, divinated myself, searched, So that's why the parasitic entities almost go hand in hand with the spirits of fear, because they are spirits that will attach and drain your life. They also have a way of diverting you away from the things that you really could be doing, and they make your power impotent. So again, it being able to put humanity in a position where they can walk with the ancients with strength and power and purpose, and not be held bound by these things.
Yeah, I notice when someone, especially when someone's beginning their magical practice, parasitic entities tend to just come out of the woodwork, because they sense a newly awakened energy, a newly awakened force, and they want to twist and contort and control that somehow. So you'll get all kinds of weird things going on. Sometimes they're noticed, sometimes it's like, even poltergeist activity, all kinds of crazy stuff. But it can also be very subtle, like you're saying. You can have, like, why am I having these problems all of a sudden? Why am I having these blockages? Why am I having these weaknesses and these, like forgetful patterns, things like that? And if you have a way to help cleanse somebody with that, sometimes someone doesn't know how, or sometimes it's just that strong an entity. And then to be able to combine that with that fear, that fear working, because sometimes that could be it. Sometimes it could be the parasite could be working through fear. And it's almost like come to Kari and you'll get your whole cleansing thing going on. Be completely empowered, because you won't have any fear. You won't have your parasitical entities on you anymore. And that's very valuable to people. I think it's very interesting. And I also will say that, like, just talking to you, the little bit I've talked to you, I'm a blabbermouth, right? I tend to talk a lot, and you're so quiet, and you sit and you listen, and you just take it in, and then you say something relevant that's so useful and helpful to people. So you have a very kind and generous and sincere and heartfelt way of, so if somebody's going to come to you, that's perfect. You can help them, just help them. And it shows. I think it really shows that's your energy coming through.
Not only are you removing these entities, but you have a method of kind of tapping into their power and kind of, if you will, capturing them. What does that involve?
Well, pardon me one moment. I've been fighting this off for a while.
It's my incense. It's going through.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. No, it's about again, the divination of bringing Belial into the situation. And once you have isolated what these entities are, asking him for the empowerment to bind them together. And what I tend to do is I like to see if I can bind them to a crystal or a talisman for use at a later time, or basically redeployment into a different working.
Right.
Now, that we had an issue with the parasitic entities thing when we were working with them. Several of the students stayed, and we had a night, because things were moving around, and the crystal was just sitting over here on my little pedestal. I didn't let no one touch. I was thinking to myself, are they really still in there, or are they just all over my apartment now?
Yeah.
But the good news is that it was just the energy that they have siphoned off of people that they still retain. has an incredible amount of influence in the fabric of this construct. So I've learned that immediate release or direction out of someone's life and into, into a, a place where they can just be released or not to torment somebody else again. That would be the focus. If you wanted to do something baneful with it, there are things that can be done. But of course, all these actions have to be weighed with, responsibility, like you have specified before, DH, about making sure that everything that you do is got a level of responsibility and justice to it. When things are done, you don't do things flippantly, you do things intentionally.
Yeah, and
So
I
that,
think that's so important. Like the actual intent of the magician is key in these workings. What we intend to do, how we intend to direct that intent, is, I think, something that is overlooked a lot by practitioners. But to me, your intent is key to the very practice or the very core of magic itself. So you've got to have the right intent in order to actually truly perform and get the results you're looking for. I think if you do not, that you get a lot of I don't want to say the whole like back on you 3 kind of thing, because I don't really believe that, but I do believe that things definitely may not go your way and kind of backfire in its own way if your intent isn't true and directed, and I guess in the purest way that you can have it be directed. So
a lot of people talk about like the monkey's paw, like that old story, and a lot of people have a superstition that magic is like a monkey's paw. You ask for something and you get something 10 times worse than whatever you were trying to solve. But
right.
The real reason is like what you're saying. If you can pare down your intent, if you can figure out what your truest, deepest intent really is, not the part that's up here, but the part that's the real intention.
Right.
Why do you want money? Well, you want money to be free of your financial situations and stuff. It's not that you want the money, you want the freedom usually.
Right. Exactly.
So in a lot of ways, like when we're talking about a rite like this, so what is your intention? Is it to hurt others? Is it to be free of these parasites? Is it to be free of these spirits? And it all comes together like that. Absolutely. Intention is so key in everything. It really is.
And like you said, if you don't identify it correctly, it can definitely not work in the way that you're intending or wanting for it to work. The form that it can take will often be mutated, if you will, or not what you had in mind or envisioned it actually occurring. So. Yeah, I think that really, like you said, meditating on what it is you're looking for. Is it money? No, it's not money. It's freedom, or it's the ability to accomplish certain goals. It's not so much the money itself. It's just paper. You don't want paper. You want what the paper is able to give you. So it's like really identifying at the core base of everything what it is you are desiring. I run into that a lot in magic, working with people. Like, what is it that you actually desire? What is it that you want? And even they themselves have a hard time or haven't really given it that much thought. A lot of people that want to do baneful acts really don't want the baneful acts. They actually want freedom. So you have to really talk to the client. And really understand what it is that they are seeking to be able to fulfill what it is they want. Because if not, then it's misguided, and the result generally isn't truly what they wanted in the first place. So
yes.
Right, and then again, like your ability to be able to listen and take that knowledge in and be able to apply the right rights to them is very, very important. It's detrimental to I believe, magic.
Yeah. It's something that I learned, like, since I had started doing professional magic just before I joined the house and then after, is that consultation is where, to me, the real heart and soul of the help is. To me, that consultation where I'm talking to the client and I'm trying to understand what their needs are. And little do they realize that a lot of the times I'm already taking the preliminary steps. I'm already manipulating, like, what sigil am I going to need for this? What am I going to have to do for this?
Right.
Am I going to have to alter the ritual as I usually do it? Do I feel the connection with them? And sometimes it's not that I don't feel a connection with them. I don't feel a connection with their need. And so we have to talk about, is this really what you want? Is this really what you need? And how do we make it work? And it's so important, to do that consult correctly. And I believe you're offering, just regular consultations as well, just for people to talk to you and to get and to just ask you questions and things. Is there anything you want to mention about that? Is there anything special you plan for that, or is it just going to be talking? And how do you want to do that?
How I plan to approach that is, when people come to me for consultations, it's about unpackaging and listening to what they're saying, because as much as people will tell you what they want, it's what they're not telling you that even speaks louder. So that is where careful listening and asking the right kind of questions will help a person be able to see themselves outside of themselves objectively. Our perceptions keep us from truly embracing a greater vision, like a right vision, because we get narrow-minded sometimes. We live life, we do the job, we do the kids, we do, the housework and stuff. We get stuck in that zone, but when it comes time to feed the spiritual man, we starve half to death sometimes. People don't realize it. So in order for people to come and consult, to listen, to unpackage what they're feeling, and finding out together what it is that will stir them to move further in their lives, what is holding back, there are all kinds of things that can be done. And I is my intention, if they want to continue to have that process, to have some upkeep, to have, a contact later on, how's it going? Are you walking it out? Is this working for you?
Right.
That's what I would like to see when I help people, when they come to me for a consultation.
It's always important. It's great because I like to follow up. For me, it's kind of like when you do a consultation with me, I'm not done with you. Like I'll check. My door is always open to, if you have a concern, we can always talk again potentially and everything. And someone posted a comment question that says, "What if you have a split spiritual and materialistic ego?" And I don't know if you guys all want to take a crack at that comment. My only thing would be to say that your ego is just a puppet you've created more or less to represent your actions as a biological entity in this world. But your true self, your actual holistic self, is never split. It's always one with its own actions. And if you're feeling like you have a split between your spiritual and materialistic ego, that's just more toys for the box, in my opinion. It's just another way. And he goes on to say, "My problem is that I've smoked and poisoned my vessel to the point that I want to ascend and I can't." I'm not going to get too specific here. I mean, this is like the kind of thing that maybe would be better for a consult or something, but your ascension it's already happening. Whether the moment you have the intention to ascend, you can't help it. You're ascending, and there is nothing that will stop it. There's just choices, and you can choose to be something else, and these limitations are almost always self-imposed. Of course, it also depends on what you believe ascension means to you. You're not ascended right now, as far as you understand, although I think you are, you just don't realize it. You are not ascended in your own mind right now, and so therefore you don't know what the final result's supposed to look like. So you have this vision in your head of what it's supposed to be, which is kind of a fantasy at this moment. And the closer you get to it, the less of a fantasy it becomes, and the more you just go, "Oh, this is pretty cool." That's my opinion of it. Do you guys want to tackle any of that, what he said, and maybe touch on?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like you can't really escape one from the other. I mean, we are physical manifestations. We are here. We have a physicality to us. We are not purely spiritual beings. We have this vessel, and so we have needs, we have wants, desires, and things like that very much involve that connection or that aspect of ourselves. So I think it's as spiritual as it is to meditate and just try to focus on spirituality. I think that there's a lot on the materialistic side that can be very
useful,
neglected, if you will. Yeah, useful, yes, as well. But neglected. We're not focusing on what it is that we need to make us whole, because a lot of the times, if we don't have rent or food or whatever it is that's physical, it's very, very difficult to be able to sit somewhere and meditate and find some kind of inner peace. So you have to be able to balance both of those things. And you're saying that smoking has hurt the situation. I don't know. I mean, perhaps there's some kind of therapy. I really don't know your situation, so I'm not going to even try to tackle that. But I think that taking care of oneself, physically definitely affects the spirituality, and vice versa as well. I believe that what's inside of a person is also revealed or comes out in their physicality. So to me, they're not something to be separated as science and magic, but they are very much intertwined and affect each other, and in a sense are one to some degree, at least while we are in this physical form. So I don't believe that one should just be focused on and not the other. That I think that it comes as a whole package together.
I love the word holistic. I really do. Go ahead, Kari. Sorry.
It is a whole approach, because one is as a manifestation fruit, if you will, of the other.
Right.
I could take your cigarettes away. I could take your alcohol away. I could take your addictions away. But until I am able to help you overcome what is causing you to want to do that, you cannot be a whole person. You have to dig and get the root of what it is that's causing that manifestation in your life. You manifest good things and bad things. Addiction manifestation can be a self-destructive lifestyle. So what is causing it? That's what you need to work on. And it encompasses the whole person. You're right.
Every breath we take is self-destruction. I mean, there's no way around it. And he's asking now, what about dimensional shifts and things, into new bodies and things? I mean, when you die, you're going to shift into something else anyway. Your awareness is going to shift. So it's kind of
That's a big question.
It's going to happen.
Of explanation,
It's going to happen one way or the other. And there are actually things you can do to take control over potentially where you go. It's not a 100%, but like I just recently got a hold of the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and I'm reading through that for inspiration on my own future plans of trying to create, ways for myself to be aware when I move on, so that I'm not just going to be reborn as somebody else with an empty brain again. I would like to potentially become like a spirit. I would like to become like the spirits that we work with, or perhaps something else. And I don't know yet. That's part of the fun too, is I only know so much. Even communing with spirits all day, telling you great mysteries and secrets, part of the fun is they tell you mysteries and secrets. They don't just give you answers. They give you questions. They give you more questions and more things to work with. So, at the end of the day, the question of what will happen, can you switch vessels and things? Again, we're talking about things like, let's not get too Hollywood on it, but at the same time, it's going to happen whether you ask for it or not. It's going to happen. In fact, it happens to you every moment of every day. Every time you wake up, how do you know the day before wasn't just a dream? How do you know that existed? So every time that you have a new awareness,
that's solipsism at its finest, man, right there. So.
I'm good at that. That's like my favorite. I go right to that stuff, don't I?
Yeah. I mean, I used to have this as a kid when I was like, are these people real? It sounds kind of crazy, but it's something that's I've written about this. It's something that has repeated itself throughout my life at different times. You really can't verify anything outside of yourself. Which is strange. But you had mentioned Carlos Castaneda a little earlier, and actually, the whole one of the concepts of the whole practice, and this is very Voltec from the order that I came from, but it's about learning how to maintain your personal power, consciousness, and perception, and escape what they call the eagle, which is a very vague outline of energy, essentially, that just kind of consumes one and incorporates it back within themselves as a whole, and kind of downloads that information that you have, which it's not a unique concept. It's something that people have talked about. Is God a schizophrenic? And we are all just, if this is God, I'm a part of God, are we all just out here almost like a quantum computer at the same time, gathering information, and then, when we die, is it all downloaded back into some great mainframe? And do we cease to exist? And that's, I think, one of the things that, writing, when I wrote Thumiel, it talks about how to, what evil was separation, or Satan separating himself from God, to have a individual identity outside of this tyrant energy, and be able to function and expand and explore and live outside of these confines that are set down. And so I see Lucifer in the same way. Like, I think we've talked about it before in our last podcast, where it's like he doesn't want to be worshipped; he wants to free you. Right. So it's all about freedom. Yes. It's all about the separation.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and some people are talking about like
I'm going off on a tangent again, you know.
One of the things that keeps coming back around to every time we talk, every time we do these things, is how many different cultures, systems, and traditions have similar or the exact same basic, idea, but they go about it with different symbolism, or they go about it with different mechanisms or whatever. But they seem to all come back to the same 2 or 3 different answers, no matter which culture you go to. And some of them are very different, but my point is that there doesn't seem to be, at the end of the day, very much actual variation between the fundamental truths that people have been finding in different cultures and different traditions. Shamans will tell you similar things that Buddhists will tell you, that'll tell you, that Hindus will tell you, that, and even Christians and their methods, if you read between the lines, they're almost saying the same thing, but they are putting that oppressor, energy on it, like you said. It's very fascinating to me because, I just did a video recently, magic, superstition, and mysticism, and how they feed off one another, and mysticism informs magic, which informs superstition. And how, at the end of the day, everything we're talking about is just different facets and ways to look towards the same truth and to come to our own interpretation, our own answers. And I think the people that accept that and don't try to force it down everybody's throat and say, this is how it is, those are the ones that get successful. Those are the ones who become the shaman of the tribe, the one who becomes the one that people seek out for answers, because they're not saying this is the only way. They're saying this is what I found. Right. Check it out if you like it. And that's one of the things I like about Kari's work, is because she
said this earlier today. Exactly. The same thing. There's many different ways up the mountain to ascension. So yeah, sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're fine.
it gets heated. It gets definitely involved here. But yeah, her work is amazing. She has a different take, a different approach than a lot of people. And that's the beauty about having different members in the house. Sometimes we all will offer something similar, but it's how one person relates to a particular person. I might offer something and it might be similar, but you might, somebody might actually gravitate towards more of a female force or presence or their methods and how they actually perform the right and take care of the situation. So having choice is really something that is key. That's what I wanted to build when I built the house, is to have really strong quality magicians offering really true rights, having a lot of giving choice, not having, just a couple of people or one person, but actually having a choice to choose from, to offer. So, I'm very, very pleased. Now you have a third right right now, and of course there will be added rights as you grow and go along. But you do have one that I'm personally interested in that deals with Lilith, and she's such an incredibly powerful force. I've worked with her a few times, and it's definitely been memorable, to say the least. I know some other people that I've recently talked to that have had Lilith experiences, and she's definitely what some consider or have said an alpha female, and very strong in her presence. What does your right particularly involve?
Well, it will be talking about what it is that you would like to see have come out of it, because I look at Lilith as not only just the seductress and the enchantress. I look at her as a woman of empowerment. She also has a strength and influence about her that I think is a facet that can be tapped into and infused and imparted within us with enough working with her, to be able to command the situation, have great influence. There's also a facet of fanning that black flame within you, especially as a woman. There is such a complementing balance between the masculine and the feminine, but when the Lilith comes into into the momentum and the ebb and flow of what I consider feeding the black flame in me as a woman. I think of empowerment, I think of influence. And so, being able to talk with someone about, how they want to command their life, whether you are a woman or a man, Lilith is a very strong spiritual connection that can help impart these things into your life. And then, as you continue to walk it out with her, you'll discover new things that she can bring to the surface to help empower you and strengthen you and fan into your being that black flame. So that's kind of the aspect of working with her that I would like to try with people, because I know it's worked for my students, and I know it's worked for myself.
Yeah, I mean, working with her, I've got a student actually that works very closely, and it's a male, but he is very much, his path definitely involves working with Lilith on a very intimate level, let's say that. She has actually guided him and changed his life in many different ways. He has, I consider direct contact with her. So it's not something that's just exclusively designed for women, although that, there's that obviously an obvious connection there or link. But men can actually access this force as well. So I think that's, very, very important to understand that these deities, these entities, they work across the board. They aren't really just specifically for male or female. And likewise, they also, if there's been a lot of times where, people consider Lucifer a woman, they're almost sexless. They don't really seem to morph between different sexes or appear to different individuals as, a male or female, depending on, I guess, the circumstance or their preference. But they definitely are very mutable, and able to take different forms.
Especially like for me, like Lucifer has come in many different guises, and the two most common is the Paradise Lost. Obviously, everyone sees that, the fallen angel, the different variations of that. But the other one is a little girl, and I'm not sure what the deal is with that, except that it must be like when I was a young child, I had a dream that I was rescuing a fairy princess from her captor, which was like a big burly jerk, and I was fearful and terrified, and reaching out to try to save this little fairy princess empowered me and made me feel strong. I was liberating somebody, I was freeing somebody.
Right.
And I think that could be it, but it's also got this different energy to it. And I think like what you're saying is so strong and important that people need to recognize, these entities appear to you in the energy or the shape or the form that is necessary for you to understand them, and their gender or their appearance of gender is just that. It's not what they are. They're not a male floating around in astral space limited to male thinking and male this, that, and the other thing. But it can be a masculine mask. Just like I can act feminine, I can act masculine, I can act any way I want. And if I had the ability to just transmute my form into whatever I wanted, I could probably play a female if I had to. I might have to arrange my voice differently and stuff, but I have that within me. But I am very interested in the whole thing, like with Lilith, because Lilith is one of those spirits that something in me, and I've said this before, I don't feel like I want to call to her. I don't feel like I want to just, I'd rather she, when she's ready or when I'm ready, comes to me as someone, because Lilith to me seems like, whereas Lucifer wants to be free and liberate people and stuff, Lilith is just more like, I am free. Don't tell me what to do. I'll come on my own volition if I want to help you. And I don't know if she's come to me before and I've just ignored it because I've been a little like, I don't want to, it's like you don't want to scare it away and you don't want to offend it. And stuff. And I don't think she's that easily offended per se, but I don't want to, because of my mentality, my masculinity, my way of acting, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and screw up, you know what I mean? So, but maybe at some point you and I will talk and we'll see if there's anything there for me, because Lilith has always intrigued me as an entity to at least pay my respects to as an entity that's out there. But I don't, I'm always afraid, like, I don't want to put her in a box and say, this is what Lilith is like, because I'm afraid like the minute I do that, I'm kind of overstepping that bound and
I
saying,
think if you try to put Lilith in a box, she'll put you in one first.
right, she'll put you in one first. I don't need that. I'm kind of happy with the with the arrangement of the atoms at the moment. I don't need to rearrange right now. So, but maybe you and I can have a conversation, Kari, and you can help me with that that energy. I think if you can help other people with something like that, because I think a lot of people, especially men, there's two kinds of men. There's the ones that are afraid of her, and there's the ones that think, like, oh, it's nothing. I can work with whoever I want. And I think the ones that, like me, who are a little nervous about maybe approaching Lilith would benefit from talking to you about this and working with that, and having that conversation. So, yeah,
absolutely.
So we've been going for about 45 minutes. I know we wanted to keep this semi-short for various reasons. So I figure we'll keep this going for another 10 minutes or so. I want to open the floor to more questions. If anybody, especially questions for Kari, she's in the spotlight tonight. This is her night to shine as a new member of the house. We really want to do that when, we want to make sure that people, when they're in the house, that they get the spotlight, that people know that we really, really value them being here. And if you guys have questions, especially for her about her practices, it doesn't have to just be about her services, just about her. And about her workings and what her beliefs are. We'd really appreciate that. And if you want, please put your questions in the form of all caps so that I can see them when they pop up. But, that would be very, very helpful to us. So Psycho Toys is bringing it up again. They are an interdimensional consciousness with several individualities, and they're from different light and darkness. And we've had conversations about that before, about how, they could be interdimensional. They could be, they have different identities and individualities and stuff. And I think trying to figure out what these entities are like is kind of like a fish trying to figure out what's on the other side of the boat, that they're about to be hauled into, when someone's fishing them. I think that, it's until you get hoisted up into that boat from into the net or whatever, you're not going to know. There's just no way you're going to be able to understand it.
I mean, I was talking with we had a long conversation, so there's a lot of things that came up today. But working with different spirits, and everybody has kind of a different experience with them, how they choose to feel or how they choose to come through, but they have a personality to them. You can start to, this is why magical journals are good to keep notes on different spirits that you work with and whatnot. But your personal experience with them is going to be different generally from somebody else's. So it's, it's a very personalized situation. So everybody's looking for the one answer, and there isn't one. It simply cannot be. And it's because of our own personal filters and experience on this plane. Among others, but it's just that you can't. There is no absolute. This is what their characteristics are, and write them down. It differs from each individual person. I've worked with spirits and been fine. Other people have worked with the same spirits and found them terrifying or even humorous. So it really depends on the individual and how, again, there's so many different variables. You're the variable, your filter is the variable, they have a variable at how they choose to, come through or whatnot. So it's just, it's not an easy answer. There is no definite answer to that particular question.
No. And Aaron D asked a question of Kari, and I think Kari's still here. I'm noticing that in the actual, like in our feed, I still see her there. I don't know if that's just like she's nodding. She's still there. So in the YouTube feed, it's just showing her picture for some reason. It's not acting like she's there, but I assure you she's there for us.
Yes.
Yeah, you can probably hear her, hopefully, you guys. Anyway, someone asked a question for Kari. It was, who are all the ancients you work with? That title can be subjective for practitioners. And, I actually love that you call them ancients. And I'm going to let you answer that question, but I think that's a perfect way to describe them. So go ahead.
To me, the ancients, they are the spiritual beings, Lucifer, Belial, Maimon, Belial. They are guardians and guides that have been walking alongside of mankind for a long time, investing in us. Mm-hmm. Our relationship with them a long time ago, thousands of years ago, was meant more of a commune. I believe that, the spiritual veil has thickened over time. because of mankind's doings. You know, we get very self-centered and we limit ourselves, we become more finite. And I believe that the more we open ourselves up to these ancient beings that are spiritually walking with us and trying to remind us of who we really are, which is spiritual beings inside of a, you know, a fleshly vessel. As they come near to us, we are reminded of how we used to commune. Even though, you know, in my, you know, 47 years I've been alive, you know, even thousands of years prior to that, there's still an energy there that we tap into to commune with them. It's a stream or a current. And they're trying to revive that in us so that we can learn how again to connect with them and elevate. So that, I hope that answers the question. That to me, that's who the ancients are. You know, they encompass all of these great clouds of beings that uh, exist within the fabric of this construct, just as we do, and they help us to manifest our truest nature.
Yeah, I love that you call them the ancients because you've pretty much instantly disarmed the entire "they're demons" arguments that people have about this. I like calling them demons because it's edgy and cool and badass, but I know them as ancient gods and ancient entities and guides of mankind and nature spirits, and the things that are taboo today were once the gods and holy beings of before. And to see them as
Exactly.
ancients is so healthy. It's so different, and it just kind of says, like, I'm not playing games. The oppressors can go to hell. You know, we don't need to use their words and all of that stuff. And it's a very beautiful way of putting it. It puts you in a much better relationship with them, because, you know, when I was a kid, I started out seeing them as demons and approaching them only that way. As I've matured, as I become an adult, I still play with the demon face because I think it's cool. It's just, I'm goth, I'm metal, you know, it's got to be that way just because it's a aesthetic. But the feelings and the emotions that they give you are never that way. The only thing that
Yes.
comes close is when sometimes, if you're feeling weak, they'll empower that dark side in you to give you confidence. Sometimes that's about the worst evil that I found. You know what I'm saying? That's like so it's
Yes.
just, to call them ancients is just so much more true. And in some ways, like, I've joked around saying that, you know, thousands of years ago, these entities might have just been the imaginary, for some of them, not all of them, might have just been the imaginary friends of some cave people that became elevated as gods over time by energy and such and such. They're companions of mankind from the beginning somehow, wherever they came from, and now they're true gods. They're true, you know, spirits that are worthy of our. I don't like to say praise because I don't think we were supposed to worship anything. I think communion, again, you use a perfect word, communion. You know, joining and becoming, invoking one another. You know, like, it's a beautiful concept to see them as ancients, and I'm really glad you put it that way. And no, Ethan, we're not saying angels. We're saying demons, yeah.
Well, and go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say, you know, all throughout time, all kinds of literature has recorded them: fallen angels, demons, spirits. You know, there's so many different echelons of different types of powers and dimensional beings. You know, every culture is going to call them something different. And, you know, the example for like Agar is, you know, he's been worshipped as different names throughout his, you know, generations of influencing mankind. You know, and, you know, you take consideration, but, you know, when man reaches out to try to label something that they don't quite understand yet, but they're trying to connect with, you can have that man-made thought form. I just prefer calling them ancients because they have been there since long before, you know.
I think there's a good example, like in the ancient Greeks, you had Boreas, which was the god of the north wind, and then when you go to China, it's the same god with a slight, I forget exactly the name that they put it, but it's a little different, but it's clearly the same. It's the same god, and you know, it's got similar symbolism and similar everything, and some of that's just from cultural diffusion. But I think that, you know, I call them archetypal, sentient archetypal energy, because they tend to occupy archetypal spaces in human condition, and that's like the psychologist minded person in me coming out. But
Right.
I think that it still works that way for people, and I think it's It's just a very fun way to look at things. Is to never be so dogmatic that you can't call them a god or just an aspect of yourself. Like always be willing to play with both.
Very Crowley-esque.
Yeah, a little bit. So what do you guys say? Do you guys have any more time, or you guys want to start wrapping up? What do you guys want to do?
What about you, Kari? How you anything else to add? I think we're going to close down here. If you wanna say anything, your floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, I just wanted to tell everyone thank you for your support. Thank you for helping me on this journey and supporting me and allowing me to share. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, I guess that'll be it for this evening. I've enjoyed this conversation with you guys for sure. As always, it's always you just sit around and talk about some cool stuff. I think it's great and really informative. I think a lot of the information comes out more natural, just hanging out and just chatting about this stuff. But you can find us at FromTheAshes.com. From the Ashes Publishing, I should say, .com. We're definitely building up the YouTube channel here, so make sure to subscribe and like if you haven't enjoyed the video and want to see more. Anything you want to add there, Thorn?
Well, we've got big things coming. I'm making personal changes to things like the newsletter, so make sure you sign up for that. We're going to be definitely doing articles more in the newsletter. We're going to be adding more stuff to that. You and I are definitely going to be doing more streams and different content and putting out videos once a week. I always put a video out once a week, but we're going to see if we can get, I know you're a busy person with what you're doing.
I'm working on it. Still in the process of unpacking some stuff. So I'm missing my microphone at the moment, so I can really get a good, strong connection there. So I'm working on some stuff. But yes, there's some stuff in the works. We definitely are going to be doing some more videos on a personal level as well as the house videos. So
yeah, so we've got that coming. We've got more people that we're going to be bringing in soon, and just making the house into more of a community too. I think that's
right.
A dream of yours and mine, to just build community, not just for professional reasons. And it's part of our own learning experience. When I get to work with people and understand their situations, it's good for me. So we're just going to keep building up what we're doing, and we definitely have a lot of things. That we're planning, and some of them, you and I have been joking about, and they're just so intense. Which some of the things I wish we could talk about them, but we just have to keep them until they're settled and done. But very exciting stuff that we've got coming, and I've got another book I'm working on. So guys, if you like what we're doing, if you want to support us, I often tell people, you can support us by obviously liking and sharing and subscribing. Be responsible when you share, though, by the way, because sometimes people get weird. So just share it where you think people would appreciate this. And go to From the Ashes Publishing if you want to help us out. S. Ben Kane has a bunch of books. I got my first book out. You can support us that way if you don't want to spend, a lot of money on a ritual or a consultation. My door is always open for just conversation. If I can help you with a few comments, I will. If I need to spend more time with you, if any of us need to spend more time with you in a consult, we can do that. We can work something out. And so just talk to us. Give us a message. Talk to us. Go to the house. Check out our products. Check out what we offer. But don't be afraid to talk to us, guys. Don't be afraid to talk to us. We're not untalkable.
I'm out there. I'm accessible. So yeah, don't be afraid to come message me and make that kind of contact.
Yeah, and like some of us, like Kari's putting out. They should put that. Kari, if you wouldn't mind, when the video goes live in the comments, put your channel URL to your YouTube channel there, so people can watch your stuff. Okay. My stuff is, you can just Google me, DH Thorn. My stuff's all over the place at this point. So check out our Facebook stuff. We got all that in the in the description below the video. You can see a lot of that. So all that good stuff. So.
All right. Well, until next week, huh?
Yeah, until next week, we'll definitely, you and I keep trying to do weeknights, and then we also have Saturday. I think we've got you locked in for being on Dark Sorcery's channel on Saturday.
Indeed.
Saturday. So as long as that plays out, we'll definitely see you on Saturday next week exactly at this time, and we'll have another great stream. Maybe we'll have Waylon and all the other guys on. Maybe we'll see if we can get Kari on again. That'd be actually a lot of fun if we can get everybody from the house and as many of the DS guys as people on. We'll do like a 3-hour stream, and everybody will be like hoarse by the end of it and tired.
You're right. I'll be trying to stay awake.
We really appreciate you being here. Let's. I guess I'll hit the button in a second. So thanks for coming, and I'll be signing off. Everybody, you can say your goodbyes, and I'll hit it when you're ready.
Good night, all. Until I see you soon.
Good night.
Good night.